This has consistently been one of the most requested weapons in this series, and I'm not surprised actually, because everyone inevitably runs out of credits or needs a lot of them for something, so they do a bit of googling and find out that this weapon makes enemies drop more of them. Look at his face. Whip the enemy out of their ill-gotten gains. Double credit drops on kills. That's actually not quite true. You do get double credits on drop at Mastery Rank 8, but it actually scales up to quadruple credits at Mastery Rank 18. That's the big draw on Secura Lecta. You get more credits on kill. It only works on kill, doesn't work on anything else. The weapon itself is actually not that bad either. The crit chance is a bit low at only 15% with a below average 1.5 times crit multiplier, but it does do primarily electricity damage with a decent amount of slash and very good status. It's acquired from the Parent Sequence Syndicate at the rank of Partner, which is the highest rank, for 125,000 standing, though it's also tradable so you can just buy it from someone else. But anyway, let's give this puppy a shot and see if it's actually any good outside of just credit farming. Shall we? The stats here are actually not the worst. The crit is a bit low, but the rest is quite nice, especially the electricity, and of course the unique trade is super duper nice. This quite obviously is the main reason why people want to make it work. My main issue with whips and why I don't use them very much is that the whip stances are not the best, let's just say. Here's Burning Wasp, but the attacks are actually quite good. You have a ton of range because well, it's a whip, right? So you swing it about, loads of range. The thing that bothers me though is how stutter-steppy the combos are. They don't feel very fluid at all. Don't remember Coiling Viper very much, but seems pretty much the same. Good attacks, very stutter-steppy. What about the dash combo? Ooh, now that's kind of funky. I like that. Let's get a stance for Ma because I do want to run Coiling Viper instead. We're definitely doing some elemental shenanigans, so condition overload it is. I kind of hate to do it twice in a row because we did it last time as well, but I think Influence makes the most sense here because of that innate electricity. Weeping Wound for some lovely status, and I would also like to get Primed Reach. There it is. Bit of a no-brainer with Galvanized Elementalist, and do we go Gas or Blast? I think this makes more sense. The Lecta is quite fast, so we would cap out gas very quickly. That's usually the main deciding factor for me, by the way. Blast for fast weapons and gas for slow ones. More attack speed equals more good, and now we just need to figure out this one. This is a bit of a flex out because we don't necessarily need to run Voltaic Strike for the electricity. You know what? Instead of putting on a random mod, let's actually try it out and see what the weapon needs. This is actually pretty goddamn tremendous. I like it. The single target's a bit questionable, which is unsurprising with zero priming, but I don't feel like we necessarily need anything. The more I look at this, the more I just think about running Voltaic Strike anyway. It is gonna give us more damage, more prevalent electricity, more status. So I guess we just run that? Yes, that's the one. Let's add Herald into the mix. Another option, if you are a Sweatlord extraordinaire that is to just run faction mods. Ooh. Oh. Yo. This actually kind of slaps. I like this considerably more than I thought I would, which is why you always try things. Yes, this is why we do this. This is why we give things a shot, because you never know what you're gonna like. It is a somewhat unsurprising result, I will give you that. It is melee influence on a weapon with decent enough stats, which is basically all you need for influence, but still, this is quite fun. One thing I kind of skimmed over, and I'm noticing it a lot actually, is that we lift enemies an awful lot, so perhaps we could try doing something with afflictions as well. I think this is a pretty neat way of farming some extra credits, and I do believe it stacks on top of stuff like Desecrate and Chromas ulti as well. I've never been too big into credit farming. I'm not a big fan of Index. I did do some Profit Taker farming back in the day when you could cheese it with Chroma and get like 2 million per kill. But as you may have noticed, I'm consistently the YouTube man with the least amount of credits out of all the other YouTube men. We are about 7.5 minutes in. Let's see how many credits we got. 69,000. Nice. I don't think we actually need to change anything here. We can just swap Influence for Afflictions and see what it do. Yeah, this has a lift. This doesn't, and oh, we only have 2 combos. Yeah, this totally works too. It's actually more damaging as well because, you know, you stack status much faster. It's just that the clear is much worse. I don't think it makes as much sense for this weapon specifically though, because of that passive. Like, you want as much clear as possible. Here's another thing I want to try. Let's take out Voltaic Strike, replace it with the Magnetic Rush, Melee Vortex. This might actually be my favorite one. I love Vortex. Vortex is such a fun arcane. Yeah, this is definitely my favorite version of this build. It might not have the clear of the influence setup or the single target of the affliction one, but it's just the most fun one. Having fun with the farming setup is very important for me, because if you're farming something, you're presumably going to be doing it for a long time, so, you know, you need to have fun, otherwise you're just going to get bored and not do it. If you have fun doing something, you're just going to do it more, because it's fun. If I had to rank these three setups that we just did, I would put the Vortex setup, this one, at number 1, then the Influence one at number 2, and then the Affliction setup at number 3. Like, neither of them are bad, they're all good. It's just some of them are a little bit gooder. So, here's what we ended up with on the Secura Lecta. We have Coiling Viper as the stance, and then Discipline's Merit as our Tennokai trigger. You can switch these around, they're mostly just personal preference. For the mods, we have Condition Overload for damage, Primed Reach for range, Whipping Wounds for status, Galvanized the Elementalist for status damage and status chance, Berserker Fury for attack speed, Magnetic Rush for magnetic and attack speed. This allows us to trigger Melee Vortex, which is our arcane of choice, and we top it off with Volcanic Edge and Vicious Frost for blast. Now, if you're not a big fan of Vortex, you can very easily turn this into either an Influence or an Affliction setup. Simply swap out the Arcane and then replace Magnetic Rush with either Voltaic Strike for more AoE, Buskill for more single target, or if you're a Sweat Lord Extraordinaire, you can just run a faction mod. Now, an important part of this build is going to be a solid priming pet. It's where a lot of your damage is going to come from. I personally use a Hound, Good Boy Harold, that primes Cold from Coolant Leak, and then Puncture, Heat, Impact, Radiation, Magnetic, and Vital from its Batoten. This is an incredibly powerful thing to add to your build, because not only are you getting more damage through Condition Overload, but you're also stripping half the enemy armor with Heat, you are destroying their shields and Overguard with Magnetic, and you're making them take more health damage with Vital. I am very happy with the setup, and it's something I'm actually going to use if I ever run low on credits again. It might not be as over the top as it used to be back when Maiming Strike was still utterly broken, but the Secura Lecta is still a very solid melee weapon that will help you farm many a credit. I don't think it's anywhere near as good as doing Index properly with a group of people, or speedrunning the Profit Taker, or even doing Railjack. Railjack is actually pretty good for credit, but it's still a nice bonus that you don't get with other weapons. Plus you get to choose what kind of a build you want to run on it, because you can either go Vortex, like me, which is the most fun version, you can go Influence, which is the best AoE, or Melee Afflictions, which has the best single target. So yes, I would absolutely recommend you give the Secura Lecta a shot. It's pretty good. And as always guys, I thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Then I would also like to extend a special thank you to all the channel members. Thank you very much guys, I really appreciate your support, it means a lot to me. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.